This is my third time at Storytellers Macon. I always get to come in the summertime to teach a workshop. I am a professional storyteller and story coach, and I just love coming. Like, Macon is the bomb, y'all. You live in such an amazing place.
I know that's right.
I know. So my name is Shannon, and people call me that. That tends to happen when your name is a thing. They call you that. But for a long time when I was growing up, people called me Cricket because I was a short little thing. And I liked that I had a nickname for a lot of reasons, including the fact that there was Shayna. And I wanted to do everything to differentiate myself from Shayna that I could. Every United Methodist camp, resurrection, assembly, there was Shayna. If you can't tell from the sound of my voice, did not care for Shayna. Shayna played the flute. She really liked playing her flute at every United Methodist camp, assembly, and resurrection. She thought she could find a four-leaf clover anywhere she wanted to. Never saw it work. We were frenemies, you might say, before that was even a thing. And so we grew up going to camp at the same time, and then I, became an adult, became a college student, and I got to become a camp counselor. And I was so excited because after having gone to this camp for so many years, I suddenly got to be there with the counselors that I had grown up idolizing, especially Tim had been our counselor and now was the assistant director, and I had a crush on this guy my whole life, and suddenly I was somewhat his peer. So, first week when we were having our staff training, our camp out got rained out, and so we're all piled up in the lodge, and some people are over here playing Risk, and some people are over here raiding the fridge, and Tim is so coolly playing the guitar. We're trying to decide if he can figure out how to play Closer to Fine. And then all of a sudden, he starts telling me about his cat, Guinevere, and how Guinevere had a sibling named Arthur. But how Arthur had one night become desperately ill in the middle of the night in rural Tennessee where there were no, emergency veterinarians. And so he had just held this cat in his arms until it passed from the world. And then he looked me directly in the eyes. And that was the first time I knew what grown-up love felt like. But then, at the end of that week, I walked into the lodge, and there were Tim and Shannon, and she hugged him and grinned at me over his shoulder. And that's when I knew I lost a battle that had never even been declared. I watched as it all unfolded. They dated for a really long time, and then they became engaged. She just fawned over that ring. And then it fell apart because she was a bitch. I waited for the appropriate amount of time until I started letting myself hope that maybe Tim and I would work out. At this point, I had graduated from college. I had been at camp for a really long time myself. And I had even moved to camp to live the year after college. And it was the summer after that, and I started to realize that I was putting my life on hold, waiting for this guy to come around to the life plan that we were going to get married, and we were going to run the camp, and we were going to sit in the rocking chairs and watch the children play and grow old together. But it was not happening. And at night, I would sit in those rocking chairs and I would cry these deep, horrible, body-racking tears, almost as if I could see my unborn children marching off the camp trail in front of me. This same summer, this other character showed up on the scene. name was Anthony. Dark, sardonic, sarcastic. We had these outrageous debates about politics and whether or not the word irregardless was a word. Now, Anthony smoked, and he was just there to wash dishes. He'd been sent there, I think, because he also was a Methodist preacher's kid like me, and he'd gotten in trouble, and so he would go to town with me at night, because I had to, as the assistant director, buy Band-Aids and baked potatoes and all the things to help the camp run. And he just wanted to go so that he could smoke as we got off the campgrounds. But now that I'm a little bit older and wiser, I kind of had to come to understand that actually he enjoyed the sexual tension that we were experiencing between each other. And so eventually I confided my feelings for Tim and Anthony, and he loved that shit. We would talk about it like he was my boy girlfriend, and we would just pick apart the whole thing like compost. And we would argue about that as well. So finally, one night, or evening, it was dusk. It was probably like the last week of camp. We were flying down the camp road, and I was just like, I just wish that Tim would just come around and understand how much, if he would just look at me and he would just know. And finally, Anthony said, you don't think Tim knows how you feel about him? And I said, what? And he said, he knows. And right at that moment, we flew around this big curve in the camp road, and there was an entire flock of chickens. Like, as if every chicken from how, like, the chickens cross the road joke had picked that place in the existential place of the universe to live. Anthony took one look at me, he took one look at them, and he knew that I was about to put my foot on the brake and probably flip the car. And so he fervently put his hand on my arm and he said, hit the chickens, Cricket. You hit those chickens. And so I didn't put my foot on the brake. But I did take my foot off the gas. And did you know that chickens can kind of fly? They glided out of the way. We didn't hit a single one. And our car glided over to the side where I sat there with shaky legs and took it all in. The last 10 years of my life, as I came to understand that he was right. Tim knew. He had always known how I felt about him. And so 3 weeks after that, I packed up that little red Volkswagen Fox and I moved to a new town and I made a new life plan, one that was just for me.
Good for you.
Thanks, y'all.